today we're going to be continuing to learn about classes. I'm going to show you guys a different example for class, and then we're going to start talking about our final assignment. So writing a class, you would always start off with the init function, where you have the variable self and then all the parameters for your object, and then you have the functions of that class. So let's talk a little more about the init function. This function creates the properties that your object holds, like name, age, breed, etc., for whatever your object may be. Inside the parentheses, you put the variable names that you want your class to have, but the first parameter is always self. You use self to refer to the object. So here is an example. We're creating a class called dog. We have the init function with the variable name, and then self.name equals name. So you can add functions to your class and make your object do various tasks by using methods. Functions can also take parameters, but the first parameter always has to be the word self. So here's the format for writing a function. You have the def plus function name, and then you have the word self and then parameters. So now let's make an object. Once you finish writing your class, you can make an object and make it do its functions. You have object name equals class name and then parameters. But this time you don't need to have the word self. So for example, we're making a cat object called cat1, and then we're giving it two parameters, the words 7 and lucky. So you can also make your class more interactive using input. You can ask the user to assign their own parameters for the object by creating variables for user input and then passing in those variables to the object. You can also have functions inside functions. For example, here we have a class called multiplication. We have the init function, and then we have the add function. And then here we have the double sum. And what this does is it uses the function add, and it does that and multiplies it by 2. So you can have functions inside other functions, which is really cool, and you can use it to make your program more organized and consolidated. And then what can classes be used for? Literally anything. So like I mentioned last week, Python is an object-oriented language, which means almost all code in Python is done using classes. And your object doesn't even have to be an animal or a thing. It can be something like, for example, last time we did hangman. Hangman can be an object. It can be an object like dice roll or guessing game. Anything can be an object. So I want you guys to start on your final assignment. So you should try to code your own animal class and write 2 functions for it, and then use user input for the parameters. And then that is all for today's lesson. Thank you.